By Monday, events had spun so out of control in Afghanistan that President Biden was forced to cut short a vacation and return to the White House to address a nation about the major diplomatic, humanitarian and political crisis gripping a country where the U.S. has been at war for 2 decades. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani had fled the country. The Taliban were holding court in the presidential palace, culminating its quick takeover of a nation of more than 39 million people. Panic was consuming Kabul, where thousands of people crowded the international airport's tarmac, and some even desperately clung to jets as they took off. In his hastily prepared speech, Biden had a lot of ground to cover and much to accomplish. Here are 5 key takeaways that show how Biden hoped to tamp down a growing political crisis by emphasizing that pulling out of Afghanistan was the right decision, even if the exit appears to be a debacle. I am President of the United States of America, and the buck stops with me. This is the kind of thing that sounds good when presidents say it. President Truman, after all, famously had a sign to that effect on his desk in the Oval Office. But if you listen closely to the full 20-minute speech, Biden was much more comfortable in owning the decision to end the war after 20 years, a move that is popular with the American public, than fully accepting any responsibility for what we've seen play out over the last few days and weeks. He did not, for example, explain why the execution of the departure turned out so badly. The truth is, this did unfold more quickly than we had anticipated. So what's happened? Afghanistan political leaders gave up and fled the country. The Afghan military collapsed. Sometimes without trying to fight. That was the closest thing to a mea culpa you heard from Biden. At least when it came to the chaotic exit, even as he sought to shift blame to Afghan leaders leaving the country and on the Afghan military and government for not putting up a fight. I've argued for many years that our mission should be narrowly focused on counter-terrorism, not counter-insurgency or nation-building. What Biden is saying here is basically that the initial mission in Afghanistan, which came in response to the September 11, 2001, terrorist attacks, evolved beyond rooting out al-Qaeda and its Taliban supporters. The U took out Osama bin Laden, the architect of the attacks, a decade ago. Biden is trying to convey that the U mission in Afghanistan became a half-hearted attempt at nation-building that was not worth the costs or risks any longer. A majority of Americans have agreed with this position. American troops cannot and should not be fighting in a war and dying in a war that Afghan forces are not willing to fight for themselves. This is another way to emphasize the politically popular position that it's long past time to bring U troops home from Afghanistan.